something I need to work on all the time is surrendering to our true nature and not my idea of who I am or what I am or what I need to do. It's kind of like, I'm even a little, I can feel my ego freaking out even now, right? Because it's like, am I love and am I loved by not doing or being anything? And just now actually asking myself that question, it's like, oh wow, I might have some things tied to that.
How long can this go on? How can we do better? Will she be here forever? Love me before I'm gone. The sun rises for 7.5 billion people on this planet every day. It will take more than one of us to make a difference. But first we must ask, what are we doing to her? Time is not on our side. The only resource we cannot buy back. Our actions today correlate from those that came before and the ones that follow us. We are merely borrowing her from future generations. Ask yourself, what did I do today to better our planet tomorrow? We must change the climate of our hearts. Because we are not apart from nature, we are a part of nature. Not living here alone. We all thrive and die together, living in delicate balance, a grand symphony of life, each with specific purpose. And when they become extinct, humanity may follow. Love thy neighbor applies to all of her inhabitants. It's not my planet. It's our planet. And the only cure for her is love. Love me before I'm gone.
Feel like John Moran, need a triple-double. Told him check the stats, yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball, now I never fumble. I'm the MVP, now I feel like Russell. Feel like John Moran, need a triple-double. Told him check the stats, yeah, I got a couple. I don't drop the ball, now I never fumble.
Hey, this is Darin Olien on Live Through Love podcast. Stoked to be here. We talked about how to be a better human, how to express ourselves, how to be better in creating the life we want. And it may surprise you in how we actually got there in the conversation. So tune in.
Extra love from the city because of what happened to your home versus permitting, or it doesn't matter? Yeah, no. Okay.
Dude, let's just say over 3 years and I don't have my house up.
Yeah.
So there's not extra love going on. There's insanity. There's like people should be in prison for keeping. There's 20% of people who've been able to rebuild in 3 years. And all they're doing is they were promoting, we're going to fast track, right? That was their term. We're going to fast track. I know you guys are under it. There's a lot happened in our community. We're going to fast track. Shit for fast track, man.
Fast track means molasses.
But with all of that, there's been opportunity, through the struggle that, if there's one thing I will do eventually, I will ask myself, okay, what's what's underlying this issue. And that house alone, and all of those struggles, number one, I'm never taking power from the monopoly ever again. And so I'm creating a nonprofit to fight against the California law that says you have to, if you create your own power, however you do that, wind, solar is the typical ways, that you have to then tie into the grid, and then the grid gives you back power. But the grid goes down, technically, you have no power. How insane is that? So the law says you have to tie into the power system. So if you become your own power system, then you tie into yourself. So, and there's a lot of reasons microgrids are infinitely better for in any scenario. So yeah, we're fighting. They push me too much, then we're going to
persevere and fight away.
Totally.
You know, my father-in-law he lives in Alaska. On Saturday, we go up to Alaska for a week.
Oh, nice.
It's God's country up there.
Amazing.
Yeah. Remy will be going his first time up there.
Wow.
But all of his stuff's off the grid. Everything has solar panels. He's got a house in Borrego. He sells electricity back to the system now. And he's figured out a way to profit, but not really, because they're still crooks.
Sure, of course.
But he still figured out a way of look, if you're going to try to charge me this, I'll figure it out. I'm going to use the maximum amount I can to not be penalized and then sell it back to you at.
Right.
But it's an interesting system.
Yeah. I mean, no centralized power situation should be used. I mean, it's just, when Northern California, when they lost a lot, there was the sovereign nation. I forget the indigenous tribe, but they had their own power. And so about 1 million people ended up, because they had no power anywhere else, and they ended up refuging in where the indigenous people had it all sorted out. So they were off grid. They had their own power system. So it shows in many different ways you have more sovereignty expressed when you can microgrid. So yeah, I have a whole plan for that too. We're going to be demonstrating and experimenting with a lot of incredible clean energy tech on the property, way beyond solar and power. So a lot of blessings in the struggle, a lot. So I'm stoked,
Find the beauty within the struggle.
Totally. Yeah.
I went to this conference one. It was held by Santa Monica, and they brought in this guy. I don't remember his name. It was a leading energy and efficiency for green buildings and things like that. He built a building, I think in Nevada.
Ed Bagley Jr. No, just kidding.
But I wish I could remember his name. The stuff he was talking about, they put in these fans, no AC in the building. Yeah. Building's never above 72 degrees in the heart of the desert. Yeah. He was talking about nanotech glass that you turn it on, it blacks out the windows. Yeah. The gases help with the cooling, and the technology's so expensive. You can't build with it right now. But as they keep working it does work. Yeah. And that's the cool thing. But how do we make it so that it affects the masses?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of great scenarios out there. There's a lot of great inventors. There's also simple, stupid stuff that we just don't have the system for it. Geothermal in the middle of the desert. You have, Earthship is a great example. So you just essentially build a canal under the ground. You have your house, and then it's all stabilized temperature. And then you have induction fan pulling air in from essentially the cool air of the ground. That never changes. So you can just literally use, as something gets hot, then it actually inducts the cold air just by opening up vents. And so it's passive, cooling, passive heating, all of this stuff. We have all of the solutions right here, right now. It's just a matter of, getting resources there, vetting them, expanding them. And there's a lot of great things. We're working on some stuff right now that we're getting a lot of support do. So yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. And, the world is kind of inverted, in a lot of different ways. So, we got to right the ship, everything from fear-based everything back to expansion, love, possibilities, creativity, so if we lead from there, then we take care of our brothers and sisters, we take care of the planet, we don't come from a fear perspective. And so, that's the gift. I would never actually take back losing everything because of the gifts of all of that stuff. Just takes a little time, and it's a little annoying at times, but
no, it is. And that's the thing. Like, you were off filming season 1 of Down to Earth when this happened.
Yeah.
And you came home, and basically you're home with me. I remember when you first came into Deuce, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I can't even imagine what that is like, just losing everything and not being able to do anything.
Yeah.
But driving into love and looking forward, you're finding the beauty now and persevering through it. And you're going to make a win out of it.
Big.
I'm sure there's a lot of things that still hurt and memories and some nostalgic factors, but it is exciting. And I do want to acknowledge you because I don't know how I would have handled that.
Well, you definitely get, you're not infallible, that's for sure. And so you have to grieve through it. I had to grieve through it. So it's not like you can jump those steps. I think one of the underutilized superpowers is the ability to face the challenges and not pretend that it's not there. And that's very dangerous, actually, in any emotion, right? In any change, it's a dangerous thing to, no, I'm fine. It's a very dangerous position. And I really mean that sincerely, because that will eat away at not only your soul, but your actual physical body, right? So that will eventually win. It's like a credit card. If you, use your credit card, you got to pay the debt, right? It's eventually going to get you. So, this is part of the getting to grieve something of such loss. It's second place to losing my father, but certainly massive, right? And so, people say, well, it's just stuff. And it's actually not true. Everything is energy, as we know. Yeah. So your stuff is energy, and it's connected to memory, and it's connected to all these things. Like, I was doing a presentation in London last week, and I was looking for, some memorabilia to use in my presentation about my father. And it's like, it's gone, right? So I had to find pictures of it and like representations of it. So it's like, yeah, it's heavy. But that superpower of actually grieving and facing, I've always had this visualization of when something is really gnarly and hard and sad and angry, I just kind of see myself as just don't avoid it. And I get this visualization of a swamp, and we don't want to be there. It stinks. It's dangerous. And I just sit right down in it. And I just let it all happen. I let the grief come out. I think, again, back to the danger is if you don't, it's going to come out sideways. Yeah. It's going to come out towards loved ones. It's going to come out towards you. And again, through that grief, literally is the light, is the blessing. It just is. And you get the opportunity to reassess who you are, what this is all about, what you really want to do. And so those opportunities, although extremely difficult, are infinitely valuable. They keep giving. And I still grieve on smaller levels, right? That moment where I'm writing the thing, like, oh man, I lost all of his stuff. Right. And so you have these moments, but it's not at the magnitude where it's, crushing you anymore. And it's really, again, it's that change, that shift between the healthy grief and then what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do with it? What am I going to do now with this actual opportunity? And I had a clean slate of my property. I had a clean slate. Again, more stress, more challenges trying to rebuild, having, just jumping through hoops. And then through the pain and pressure of all that, a lot of opportunity happens. I mean, I just found out that all of the prototypes, there's probably a minimum of about 5 mind-bending technologies, will all be prototyped and are funded on my property. So it's going to be ground zero to some of the most beautiful, scalable technologies that are better than wind and solar and batteries and so man, if I wasn't open to receiving and if I was still bitter and why did this happen, I couldn't receive that. So anyway, I'm stoked, man.
No, it's a powerful stance. One, I can't wait to go tour the property when it's ready.
Please.
But have you always had the mindset of looking at a situation like this, something terrible, something that causes you to grieve or have anger or can lead to resentment, or did it take you time to learn to actually look at it as an opportunity, work through it, sit with it?
Yeah. Because
avoidance is a huge thing, especially as men. We're taught avoid, push away, shove down, don't show emotion.
Totally.
And you're sitting here, no, go sit in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a practice, and that's the beautiful thing. You practice to be better at it. It's like also uncomfortable conversations, right? Mm-hmm. That business partner or that relationship conversation, you're like, oh my God, I have to say something. I have to, so I'm a small town kid from nice Minnesota. Mm-hmm. We don't turn and talk to people and make people uncomfortable, even though it's our truth or even though it's something that should be expressed. No, that is not something that was born into me, right? That was something that through doing things and not confronting myself or my truth and not stepping up into what I knew to be true, I eventually started to realize, I'm not living my life because I'm afraid to step and step into what it is that I truly believe myself to be, do, or create. And so as I was starting to kind of, in my 20s, graduating college, I too have a physiology and kinesiology background and stuff like that, and nutrition. And then just through pain, through struggle, through like practice, now I'm pretty good. Like if there's something that comes up and I need to have that conversation with someone, it's still not easy, but the more I do it, the more it liberates the energy. Most times it creates closeness, it creates deeper connection. It's like if you're willing to have those kind of difficult conversations and do it from a conscious perspective, then that's the opportunity to deepen yourself, your conviction, and also create closeness and deeper love with other people. So I love radical honesty. And that radical honesty starts with myself. What am I really here for? What do I really want to do? Like that's a very common recycled question I ask myself all the time, So it's a practice. It's a freaking daily practice because it's easy to avoid. And that's, I talk about fatal conveniences all the time, all those things that we do that we think is good. And in truth, they're not actually helping us at all and maybe even harming us. And I think the avoidance of truth is a very big fatal convenience for most people, right? So as men, easy to get angry, harder to get vulnerable. Yeah. So they say, right? So easy to react, blow up, then actually go, how do I feel? What's truly going on? What's my responsibility? What's the other person? You have no ability to do that when you're just emotionally flying off the deep end all the time. So this is a practice going against the grain of even being human in this day and age, right? So it's, we looked at 2 years of people just, collapsed in fear, losing their critical thinking and their common sense. It's not like that's new. Look around. Like, the stuff we're feeding our children that is on the shelves, the uncontrolled electromagnetic smog that's hurting our children, that's hurting us. Like, there is so much stuff that makes no sense that we are doing this to ourselves. Fast fashion, formaldehydes, phthalates, all of these things that when come in contact with our skin, disrupt our endocrine system, disrupt our testosterone, disrupt our thyroid, disrupt our cognitive abilities, our immune system, all of these things. And I'm looking at all of this stuff and I'm going, what are we doing? Right? So it takes effort to wake up, acknowledge, and then do something different. It's not easy, right? It's not easy. It's so easy to just, of course, I'm kind of being facetious because I can't go backwards, right? So it's not easy for me just to go, la, 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 I'm just going to go home and watch TV and just live my life and just make some money and then, just exist. It's like not when I can see all of this stuff that maybe I can help right the ship in my own little way.
Yeah. And that's the thing. What I'm hearing is, radical honesty, but radical personal responsibility, right? It's easier for us to point the fingers.
Yeah, very easy.
And it's also, they say ignorance is bliss, but once you know and you're actively participating, now you're choosing to participate and be the problem.
Right.
And most people don't even want to acknowledge that they're choosing to be in it.
Totally.
And then lastly, it'd be great if we could solve world peace on our own, but we can't. But one person can create a ripple, and that ripple affect one more and one more and one more. And eventually that ripples out to 8 billion people.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day that's a way to get us to connect with Mother Nature again, get us to lay down some arms and really dive into love.
Yeah.
But to think egoically and say, I'm going to solve the problem. No, but to think, hey, can I affect change on one person? Can we have a conversation?
Yeah.
Dive into this and just unpack it and see where it goes.
We have to. Again, that's the key for it all. Like, we have to turn and face this stuff. And that goes the man and woman in the mirror. You got to face that first. And it's challenging. You see in the world where it's just everyone is like, I don't know how to say it, but walking around offended by everything and pushing it all outside of themselves, going, it's like that whole thing. If you fix this, I will be not offended and I will be fine. Like, that's not how it works. It will never be that. Now, there's certain justice and equalities that absolutely, as a society, we need to support and defend and improve upon, clearly. But there's a slippery slope. You can find the greatest people for the greatest causes judging the shit out of everyone else, even when they can certainly justify it based on their position and based on what it is that they're actually talking about, right? You can easily do that. Even if let's say you have all the science in the world, you have everyone behind you going, yes, right, wrong. Everyone agrees. But if that person is judging and in that energy field, certainly out of love, then they are being affected physiologically, spiritually, however you want to call it, as well as everyone around them. I've been plant-based, for 17 years, certainly easy for certain people to run around going, you're fucking up the world, stop eating, killing animals and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, it's not my job to police people. Like, people ask me a question, I'll answer it. Then it's on you.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do. Like, we don't need to be in a situation, So it's like, it's certainly something that, can undercut a message that may be correct, but that we're not actually then dealing with. So I just, I see that a lot where people are just like, there's Native American guy said to me one time, and it's like, God, I was like 23 years old. And he goes, keep in mind that when you squeeze an orange, what's in the orange will come out, right? So whatever's in that person, if they get squeezed, and life will squeeze them, and someone will offend them, what is already there is coming out. And you cannot create a world where you pretend that orange juice is not in the orange, right? Because it's still there. So, so in a lot of ways, man, it's just, again, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's super easy to be a victim.
Yes.
It's super easy to project.
Yes.
We do it all. I bet you everyone listening, even myself and you, have projected on someone today. God, I wish, even if you didn't say anything, you're like, I really wish they would have washed that bowl. If they would have washed that bowl, then I wouldn't have to do it. And, whatever it is, it's so easy to slip into that, and doesn't do anything for anyone. And actually hurts everybody.
And the compounding effect of that energy.
Yeah.
Right. And I heard a couple other things. One thing is talking about being offended. Most people don't realize, to me, it's, if I'm taking offense, that's me choosing to be offended. And now I am giving you my power.
Yeah.
You can't actually offend me.
Totally.
So why are we walking around giving our power away and just taking offense to everything?
Bingo. And
then the judging thing, right? Plant-based. I've been attacked by hardcore vegetarians. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, aren't you just taking away from the whole mission of what you're doing? If we all just stood firm in our beliefs, shared them with integrity and intention and love, I think we'll hear each other more and see each other more. Yeah. But when we say my way's right, you do it my way, me, you're like, it's bouncing off of.
Yeah, you're wrong. It's that energy is very toxic.
Yeah.
And
then the orange thing now. So let's shift how some of this really falls into health and wellness. If we keep it all in, especially as men, but just human beings, we keep in and brush it under the rug, avoid it. It does ruminate inside of us. Yeah. It could become cancer. It could become different diseases. How have you seen this now in your health and wellness practice? And has some of that actually helped you with that path and maintaining that?
Yeah, I mean, dare I say it's you come to realize that I've come to realize that, I've interviewed a few people too, and it's like even the gift of kindness. By doing something good for someone, going out of your way to do something good with no perceived need for accolades, instantly is more nutrient beneficial physiologically than anything you could possibly put in your body. Epinephrine, norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, all of these things are initiated. We are an incredibly complex chemical system that we have no idea, barely have any understanding. But when we are kind, when we are loving, so yeah, on the one hand, I spent 20 years running around the world trying to find the greatest foods and botanicals and plants. And of course, I still love that. And I still love doing that. But at the end of the day, going back to the same thing, I was at this Biohack conference in London, and literally the greatest biohack is being kind, right? And loving and hanging out in a hug for more than 30 seconds. Yeah. Like the amount of chemical release that happens, hugging your child, like loving on our pets, our partners, all of that stuff is physiologically one of the greatest things you can possibly do. So it's ironic that we spend also so much of our time trying to find the greatest elixir or the greatest thing. And then we also, going back to judging, you're actually doing more harm than good, but then at the same time, you're taking methylene blue, trying to it's just like everything is like flipped. And so I love, one of my favorite words right now is integration. I love integration. I love integrating myself, my practices, my day, my journaling, my meditation, my exercise, my elixirs, my compounds, my cacaos and my mushrooms and my schizandras, my adaptogens. I love all of that. That's pretty easy because that's kind of so integrated. But then those next steps are integrating a healthy home, integrating better relationships, integrating higher purposes, integrating business relationships that are going to get and move towards the things that I care about. So it's like, for me, it's always integrating because there is no parts of the world. Parts are always a part of the whole. That is nature. So in our minds, we reduce. In our humanness, we reduce. For me, I'm trying to do the opposite. Integrate, and see how those things also are then playing into the whole, right? And as I work on these kind of fractals, right, from my morning routines or all these individual things, they are all then connected. Even the time I go to bed at night is intimately connected to that morning because that's setting up my morning. And so then that morning where I get to, be on the sunrise on the bicycle, running my dog at the right time. And all of these things are part of the whole. And then, so that for me is kind of the advanced thing that I'm working on the most, is just trying to put my energy towards things that are going to leave a legacy even way beyond anything that I can even kind of think are going to happen in this life, so if I can move the needle, sometimes I've been, in the last couple days, I've been really contemplating if literally money wasn't an option, money wasn't an issue, there was no limitation, what is it that you would want to put effort towards? Right. And, so I'm stretching my own consciousness every day, and it's freaking amazing because things through that stretching, things are coming in. I'm receiving grace and receiving real things coming in just by that stretch, just by that opening and that receptivity. And then it's just like, whoa. So receive, I'm talking vague and I have real things, but it's we're so small as individuals, we're so small, but yet we are infinite. Yeah. Right. The paradox is unbelievable, right? The paradox is like, okay, is this me? Or what can I actually contribute to? What energy can I step into? What can I participate that not only fuels, like we were talking about, it fuels me now. Because when I journal and when I meditate and I tap into that shit, like I am fired up. Like I want to work out. I want to freaking take deep breaths in. Like it's working now. And that's the thing. And you go in and I can see stuff lining up, even though it hasn't happened. I can step into that, and that is fueling me right now. Mm-hmm. And that's again, you just caught me in this kind of intimate integration practice. I wouldn't even call it a practice. It's just, I've never even verbally said anything about it until this moment. But for me, that's where I'm with the TV shows, and I've got another TV show I'm working on. And I like all of these things are representations that are infinitely connected to much bigger things.
Yeah.
Like I could really give a shit about hosting a TV show. No interest. Unless it's connected to the things that I'm connected to that I care about so deeply. Mm. And to be able to be supported in that, because for me, I'm like, great, next, let's go. Okay, let's go. Like, you have another little gift that comes in or a challenge, and you're like, okay, nothing's happening to me. It's happening for me. Mm-hmm. Even when I can't see it, I'll eventually, my feeble little brain will become aware. Yeah. I just got to hang out for a second, not get emotional and react. And of course I fail at that too. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
No, I love that. There's so much right there. So I've been hearing integration a lot now.
Yeah.
And the way you just explained it is beautifully. And my example is looking back. Let me just use a relationship. If I look back at all my past relationships, that led me to my wife right now. So I can't regret any of them. I can't look back and, I wish it wasn't her or this. No, because I wouldn't be who I am right now in this moment. So if we look at that as all integration instead of mistakes or failures or things we beat ourselves up for, that's an example. So now I'm looking, okay, when I wake up every morning, I do my thing with Remy, then I go to the gym and I walk there and I walk back. During my walk, that's when I get my brain ready for the day and so on and so forth. Those are all little steps to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because you're right, we break things apart. And when we make them look so small, we overlook them.
Yeah.
Like setting my intention for when I go to sleep will directly affect my morning. Yeah. Like that right there alone, that's gold.
It's gold. And that's where the muscle of the active participation in your life and the fulfillment, that just expands. That just keeps going. And it's not like I feel like, if people are listening, like something else they have to do.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that, because I do because I'm filled and fulfilled at what I truly want. And if it feels like it wavers and that people aren't, then maybe your why or what that you really want, maybe you haven't quite landed it yet. So it's shaky. It's like, okay, what am I doing? What am I thinking about as I'm walking home? Well, it's hard if you haven't spent enough time sitting with who am I? What am I? What would I truly love to generate and create in this life? Even if you just, everyone listening right now, even if they just ask that question and sit there without letting their mind answer it right away. Just literally sit right there and allow the space between those notes fill up beyond your consciousness, beyond your ego, beyond your, I want to fill it in with, I want to earn $10 million. I want to fill it in with, I want this car. I want to fill it in with, I want this particular job because it's connected to status or what my wife thinks, or shut up for a second. Be quiet and allow the space of the fucking creator to fill that in. Or your angels, or your guides, or your fucking alien friends, whatever it is, let the space. Because I guarantee you, it's been trying to talk to you, right? So that to me, and that's a developing, number one, that's, if everyone did that, this whole life, this whole world would flip right back upright again, right? Mm-hmm. And that to me is counter to the programming that goes on here. The programming is this frenetic kind of do. Now listen, I love doing. Mm-hmm. I'm always busy. I work constantly, but I'm constantly checking what effort am I doing and why? And is it connected to that thing that sometimes I can't even define yet, but I can feel it. And then stuff like, I got this huge kind of thing today, this position of this foundation that just came in. It was just like, bing, hit this bell inside of me in a certain respect that was just like, whoa, that was a door that just flung wide open. And it aligned with so many of these other things that I'm doing. And I also, on one hand, didn't see it coming, but it matched the energy, right? And that's the thing about goals and setting things. You have to let them go. But it's mostly kind of connecting to that energy of this stuff. And I know we're talking kind of esoterically, and I don't mean to be talking that way, but it's really, I feel my way out. I feel my way through life more than I mess up too. Like I try to plan and I get controlling, and I for sure have that whole side of me, and I gotta white knuckle it. I gotta make this happen, and fuck.
Because time sets in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want to sound like I have this whole thing sorted out, but I definitely have some things sorted out. And I definitely I push too much. I have to let go. I have to surrender. So it's this whole thing. It's a constant, and that's life. That's part of the journey.
Yeah. And one of the things to that last point is the practice of all of this, whatever you want to call it, however you want to do it, try it, just be it. We can shift quicker back to who we want to become. Yeah. And out of what we're growing out of. Right. And that's the thing. The whole tools is, yes, we're going to go back into it. Yes, we're going to have emotional outbursts. Yes, we're going to react. But how fast can I shift back? How fast can I be self-aware that I'm in this? And let me go back to being it and feeling it and breathing it and not trying to figure it all out.
Totally. It's the same thing like when we train, right? You train, I train. And I sometimes get fascinated on, like, you do something really gnarly, right? And it's heavy and you're breathing hard. And it's like, how quickly can I then step in, consciously breathe, in the nose, out the mouth, something like that. And how much can I adjust and support my recovery? Because if I just sit and recover, I'll recover for sure. But if I step into it in between sets and really am present with my recovery is incredible, right? So it's that in life, right? So then I'm stronger the next set because now I've hyperoxygenated. I've gotten rid of so much lactic acid. There's all this physiological benefit, but it takes a participation rather than just letting it be. Right. So I love to participate as much as freaking possible because these are opportunities in life to just go, okay, like if I step into this and learn as much as I can, then I can extract like listen, going back to like hard and struggle. When I was thinking about this one time, I'm like, there's a lot of good compounds in dried herbs. And what's the way that we extract them? We put dry herbs, basically tea, in what? Not cold water. It doesn't extract anything. We put it in hot water, really hot water. And it extracts the beneficial compounds. That's what life is. You're going to get hit. You're going to get struggle. So you're going to be put in hot water. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to allow the beneficial compounds, the communication that life is trying to tell you? It's trying to tell you something, right? It's the moments between all of that. You got to listen and shut up for a second and let those compounds come out, because you, me, everyone listening is got infinite compounds that are unique to them. Yeah. And if they let those out and gave themselves permission to get out in the world, no more victim, get into love, get into purpose, get into passion, and then we create a life that we truly love. And the 8 billion of us doing that are not then sitting back on our heels going, I wonder what's going to happen this next couple of years.
Yep.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Waiting for the next cycle. Yeah.
I'm not sitting back. Hell no. And that to me is a problem in society, you know? So we need to listen more. Stop listening to all this other shit. Because we have these unique qualities, and, you know, when the heat gets turned up, that's the opportunity to find out who you are.
Yeah. Unleash your superpowers.
Totally. Yeah.
And to take it to an analogy of the sitting back, let's say you're on any sports team. Do you want to ride the pine and watch your players and teammates play the game and live life? Or do you want to be in there starting with them and fighting for that win? Yeah. Whatever it is, and actually participate in life, right?
You're going to have to practice. You're going to have to, you know, strap it on and freaking hit somebody, you know, or whatever the sport is. Yeah. You got to, you know, it's like, doesn't just happen, you know? So life is happening. We got, you know, it's like,
going to happen regardless.
It's going to happen. You're going to sit back. You're going to let it rip. And letting it rip means all of these things that we've been talking about. It's not comfortable. There's nothing. So that's the delusion, right? We're living in this delusion that I want all of this, but the hard work is looking at all the stuff that you put in the way. You put in the way of you having the things that you want, right? Or the resentments, because you certainly, okay, I was abused by this guy. I was abused by this person. And then you're just holding all of that in. Now, listen, no one's promoting any of that stuff, but it happens. So how do you forgive? How do you move forward? How do you heal yourself so that you don't become the victim of this next moment when that situation is gone, right? So that's what we need in this society. We got to fucking just turn into ourselves and get support and find our tribe and find our community. And if anyone is poking at you not to do you, that's not your tribe. You got to move on, you know? So
how many of us are doing crazy things that lots of people are like, why are you doing that? You should be doing this or that. So yeah.
How many times have you had? What are you going to do? Okay. Oh, you're going to paint? You're going to paint walls? Yeah. That's what you're going to do? Oh, you don't want to, you're just going to live with yourself and not have family. And then look at what you're doing. Right?
Yo, you're just going to be a starving artist?
Right. There's that whole, again, that whole dump. They're just dumping.
Because that's not art. Or do you use other words or like... Yep.
You're just going to use that word?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And if you allow these things to happen to you, and allow these conversations to penetrate, and you want to talk about expanding consciousness, our consciousness is, let's just say, the size of a basketball. And we could have tunnel vision and live in that space. And whatever's in that space is what we, even at the outer edge, that's our limiting beliefs. But if we make that basketball a beach ball and make it even bigger, it's a blimp now. it's a hot air balloon now. Like, how big can you make it? That means those limiting beliefs are that much further out.
Yeah.
You could take in so much more, be open to so much more, but we've got to choose it and seek it out and surrender to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the key. And listen, most times those people saying those things, are they doing their thing? Because I guarantee you, I come here, I feel like I'm pretty dialed into what I'm doing, right? And I feel love, and I come here and I see you dialed in. Then I'm like, I see that. Even though I can't paint for the life of me, right? I've zero. My brother sucked all that artistic ability out of the family, but I recognize and love, pun intended, love that you're doing it. Right. So I can see that. I can recognize that. And I love that. And so I support that. I'm not coming here vomiting my limiting beliefs on you, but someone else who may, again, this is projection, right? Life is this projection. We go back to, you've offended me, so therefore you have to change all of this about you in order for me to feel better.
Yes.
All of these goddamn projections, like, why don't you just, like Michael Jackson said, hey, man in the mirror, right? So it's like, it's all there. And it's so easy to blow off. People will listen to this. They'll agree to it. They'll be shaking their head going, yeah, it makes sense. I've heard about that. And yet they won't do it.
Yep.
They won't do it because it's hard. Because you have to first see those things that you don't want to see about yourself.
Yep.
And that's not easy. None of this, your path has not been easy.
No.
I already know that. I'd love to know what it is and unpack that at some point. I know mine hasn't. No conventional job.
Yep.
Because I didn't want it. So because of that, you're like, okay, I got to get out a shovel because the road don't exist.
It's a little bump here, there's a couple boulders in there.
Yeah. And then along the way, of course, you find mentors and you find people that are like, okay, I see something in you and for sure. And that's a good kind of accelerator and support. But again, you're on your own. What are you going to do? How many times do you want to quit? How many times you're like, I didn't know what I'm doing. I didn't know how I'm going to do this.
Right.
I'm just going to start painting.
How am I going to have kids? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're such a perfect example of that. It's like, I mean, look at your room. You got paint.
Yeah.
Right? And you're drawing love and you're making a life and a career and you're making shifts and changes and affecting people. You didn't start with how much money am I going to get for doing this?
Nope.
You said, how am I going to affect change? And thank God there's enough great people out there that go, nah, I like it.
And that's the thing, right? What you're talking about really is like, what's the intention you're putting into your life's work, into your life, into your path?
Yeah.
And why are you doing it? Earlier, you were talking about kindness is a super nutrient.
Yeah.
Acts of service. I always say being in service. There's nothing more fulfilling than going and doing something with no agenda. And you walk away on cloud 9.
Totally.
And you're like, wow, I can like float on a cloud right now. Like I can go to sleep tonight and feel like I accomplished my life.
Totally. Just
from a simple act of service. It could be volunteering. It could be buying someone a coffee. It doesn't have to be something grand, but just that one thing.
Actually, those smaller things that are easier to do and you're not blowing off those moments. Easy to blow off. And even complimenting someone.
Yeah.
Random stranger walking by, it's like, oh, wow, it's a cool shirt. Why don't you just say it? Tell that person. Doesn't have an agenda. It feels good. Gives them an uptick, gives you an uptick, that exchange. Like, we're just not doing that enough.
There's one thing that I practice, because I walk from my house to the gym every day. I'm in Santa Monica, Venice. There's homeless people everywhere.
Yeah.
So I heard this one time, someone said, and he said, you want to take your own humanity away, look away purposely from humans lesser than you, right? And he was talking about homeless people. Ever since I heard that, I made it a mission as much as possible. If I see someone, I will look at them. I will give them eye contact. Yeah. Whether I exchange a word or not, it's like, look, I see you. I know you're human.
Right.
I'm sorry you're struggling. And move on. And even that right there might take, because that's uncomfortable.
For sure.
It's uncomfortable, but I do it. And sometimes, like this one lady, she was sleeping there for like 2 months. And I always go in shorts. She always calls me, hey, legs. Hey, legs. So it's like she got to know me as legs, and she would have me, hey, can you throw out my trash? And I'm like, the trash can's right there. So I go help her. But just that little interaction, that was everything. In that moment, like not much happened other than a little bit of humanity. And it felt good for me, but I know she got even more out of it.
Yeah.
But I got a kick out of it. She's like, what's up, legs?
Yeah. And it means something, right? Mm-hmm. That human interaction, just like that, means something to everybody. Yeah. But when we're just pretending and we're creating these boundaries for all of us, then it cuts ourselves off because we literally are connected. I had a moment in London and I was walking to the event that I was talking at, and this guy was clearly, he was outside, just pretty messed up. And he looked, and I did that. I turned away because I was like, oh man, and I was like a half a block away and I couldn't let it go. I turned around and I went back to him. I go, hey, what do you need? Oh man, I don't have any food. And I have a girlfriend too. And he was on the street, straight up. So I went into the convenience store and just let him get everything he needed. But it was tricky too, because I did. And he was, drunk. I could smell it on him. He didn't really receive it in the way that I really wanted him to, right? Because it quickly went into, oh, now he's grabbing like all this stuff and now he's taking advantage. So I actually had to set a boundary. It was weird, right? It was a weird thing. And he literally kept grabbing shit. I was like, hey, that's good. Because the energy shifted. He was very grateful. And it was a weird scenario. And I walked away going, I felt good about it. But I knew on the one hand, did it really make a difference? I don't know. But I don't know. It was
I can imagine. It's like it shifted to, he was grateful at taking it. Then he became a taker. Yeah. And then we see this playing out with the handouts that a lot of people like, let's take handouts, not responsibility. Yeah. Like I get invited to dinner. I don't go order the lobster. I order what I'm going to order. And like, if I was paying for myself, I would order whatever I order anyway, but I'm still conscious about, oh, thank you. This is awesome. I'll enjoy. Yeah. But I'm not going to get like the $200 wine or like, let's see where this is at. And if she decides to buy that wine, cool. Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's a type of gratitude. That's a type of, self-awareness,
And just the balance in it.
Yeah.
So let's get to my favorite question. How do you define living a life through love?
Wow. How do I define living a life through love? The first word that pops in my head is surrender, because I think we are that. And so something I need to work on all the time is surrendering to our true nature and not my idea of who I am or what I am or what I need to do. It's kind of like, I'm even a little, I can feel my ego freaking out even now, right? Because it's like, am I love and am I loved by not doing or being anything? And just now actually asking myself that question, it's like, oh, wow, I might have some things tied to that because we think we need to do all these things. So, so for me, it's surrender to my nature, which doesn't allow the ego to come. And just by you being you and me being me and having a soul that gets to travel in this body, I think that's it. Mm. And we get to have some experiences and contribute here and there, but surrendering to what really love is, which is us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. This has been wonderful. And what are you working on right now? I know you've got a book coming out. You've got a couple other things.
Yeah, I'm working on a big Fatal Convenience book, taking some big swings against the crazy shit that we're doing, from telecommunication to EMFs to fast fashion to the food systems and everything else, in order for the awareness to pop so that we can do something different. We have season 2 of Down to Earth coming out at some point. Netflix is so weird; they don't let us know.
But it's in the tank.
But it's in the tank, yeah. And then I'm working on a second TV show where I'm going to dive into a bunch of cool stuff. Awesome. And then working on rebuilding my property, and that's also connected to the TV show and to the things like that. So just try to be a better human. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I loved season 1, so I can't wait for season 2.
It's good.
I actually have a Zac Efron story. My buddy, his son, was on High School Musical.
No.
His name was Chris.
Wow.
And so I flew out to Salt Lake City when they were filming High School Musical 3. I don't know if he'd remember me at that point. There was another time where he did remember my name. It was a long time ago. But yeah, we were in the room. It was him, Vanessa Hudgens, Chris, me. So that's my Zac Efron story. He was a baby back then.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy, for sure.
Super cool. So where can everyone find you?
Yeah, just DarinOlien.com. Darin Olien on all socials. And you can try to find me there.
All right. Thank you for being on, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate it.
Time and
thanks for the love.
See you for you.